Good evening, everyone. The time is now 6:06, and we'll go ahead and get this regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting going. As a reminder to our commissioners, please be sure to unmute your microphone to be heard on the live broadcast. The public who did not register in advance can watch the live stream broadcast on our city's YouTube channel. For live translation services, please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 * for Spanish translation services.
I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Will staff please do a roll call?
Commissioner Sanchez.
Present.
Commissioner Van Heusen.
Present.
Commissioner Biltoff.
Present.
Commissioner Schechter.
Present.
Commissioner Nelson.
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Will everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So for tonight's meeting, we'll be discussing the last regular meeting minutes, the Reunion Center filings 1, Amendment 1 and 2 final plats, and the Transportation Master Plan. Before getting to our agenda this evening, I would like to recognize Commissioner Nelson, an alternate who will be sitting in on the commission this evening. First order of business, can I please have a motion to second 2025 meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please open electronic voting. The motion passes, 5 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstains. Reunion Center plats. I will open the public hearing on these two cases. As a reminder to the commission, the applicant will present, followed by staff. At the conclusion of both of those presentations, we will ask any questions that we have. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have their turn to speak on the case. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving to those attending virtually. With that, I will ask Planner Nick Berry to please announce the case. The case is.
Good evening, Commission. These two cases were reviewed simultaneously and noticed simultaneously, and such will be presented simultaneously, so we'll go ahead and read both of those in now. The first, S-762-20-21-25. Oakwood Homes is requesting approval of the Reunion Center Filing 1, Amendment 1 final plat to create 84 residential lots, 5 commercial lots, and 16 tracts for open space utilities and drainage and private rights of way. Additionally, to 2 tracts for future development. The subject property is approximately 35.55 acres and generally located between East 104th Avenue and Homestead Trail and between Walden Street and Tower Road, zoned PUD or Plan U development. The second is S-762-20-21-25-25. Oakwood Homes is requesting approval of the Reunion Center Filing 1 Amendment 2 final plat to create 106 residential lots, 5 commercial lots, and 11 tracts for open space, utilities, drainage, and private rights of way. The subject property is approximately 15.25 acres, generally located between East 104th Avenue and Homestead Trail and between Walden Street and Yampa Street, zoned PUD or Plan Unit Development. At this time, I'll invite the applicant forward to begin their presentation.
There we go. All right, can you hear me all right? There we go, perfect. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jeff Mark. I'm a principal at Terracina Design. We are the landscape architects and land planners for this proposal in front of you tonight. Also have representatives from Oakwood Homes here that can answer any questions you may have of them, and also representatives from JR Engineering, who did traffic and the district engineering on this proposal. Again, thank you. I want to thank your staff for all the help over the last few years that we've been working on this. It's been going on for a while. If you want to go next slide, Nick. Okay, so the first thing to discuss is that I've heard is why are these called amendments? So what you see in red up here was actually Reunion Center filing number 1. This area was platted to create what you see as Lot 1 there, which is the Stead School. So it was to create the Stead School parcel along with surrounding infrastructure that was required for the Stead School. And as plats go, when we start to subdivide that, if we have any remaining parcel that's Colorado law, if it's under 35 acres, we have to plat that piece of land as part of it. So what you see here in yellow and kind of the orange are 2 tracks. It was Tract A and Tract C that were future development tracks that were created as part of that filing. Why is it broken into 2 amendments? Well, at the time when we submitted this, the city policy was that you could have no more than 150 lots on a plat. So we actually had to break it into 2 separate plats. Another part of this is that why are they called amendments? What are we trying to change, we've heard? What this is the city's policy on naming on plats is when we go in and replat that Tract A that we knew is going to be future development Tract C, the naming nomenclature is just called an amendment to the original filing. Some places it's like a replat of Tract A or a replat of Tract C. These are just the city's way of naming plats. So I want to just kind of make sure everybody's clear on why these were called amendments. Also, as part of these, there is no changes to the underlying zoning or use. These are just plats, again. If you want to go next one, Nick? Okay, so what are we proposing here? It's going to be a mixed-use neighborhood. So it's a horizontally mixed-use neighborhood with, as Nick mentioned, 190 paired homes. Looking at the 2 amendments as a whole, again, this was designed as a whole, but kind of had to be broken up as 2. 10 commercial lots on the south side. Per our PUD, we're allowed 5 to 40 DUs per acre on the housing side. We're at 11.1. We have 0.5 acres of open space that's required per the land development code, and we have 3.4 that we are proposing on here. Okay, thank you very much, Nick. So on this one, just again highlighting where amendment number 1 is, where we have, again, the housing along the north side and then the commercial lots on the south side over here. Nick, if you want to go to the next one, thank you. And again, amendment number 2, same thing with housing on the north side and then the 5 commercial lots on the south. Just want to do a couple of commercial renderings showing this. Now, the reason these buildings are ghosted out is that we really, at this point in time, do not know what the users are going to be there or how each one of them will end up designing their lot. But as we're working through this and laying out utilities and the roads in there, we really try to at least make sure we have a pretty good idea of what the buildings could look like, where parking could be on this. Again, just kind of helps kind of paint that picture for it. Next one. Residential renderings. So on here, on number 1, you can see this would be looking down Yampa Street that goes down through the middle of it. All of these homes are alley-loaded homes, so the garages will access off the alleys. So the fronts that face onto the street are nice facades, don't have garages or cars parked out in the front. Number 2 is a view of looking at the park that we're proposing in the middle of the community. And number 3 is kind of just a bird's eye view of that park. Again, you can kind of see those alleys there on the north side of that park there in number 3. Park location plan. So on the planning side, when we're looking at this, we usually look at different types of parks, from neighborhood parks, community parks, and pocket parks, as many would call them. And we set up these distances and radiuses. So most users are willing to walk a half mile to what I'd consider more of a regional or larger neighborhood park, just like Reunion Park is there in the middle. And that's where you can kind of see a larger half-mile radius that goes around. You could see that covers over our site, along with some of the existing other pocket parks. Now, when we were looking at this, we really decided, we're like, really, Reunion Park is probably close enough for this community, but we thought it was really important to at least add another little pocket park within it. These pocket parks, these circles you see are quarter-mile radius. That's usually the distance that users are willing to walk to a smaller park facility. So really, as you can see on this, we're almost getting doubled, tripled up with kind of that park radius around our community here. Traffic circulation is always an important topic when looking at any new community. We have 104th existing along the south as that thick red line. We have Tower Road existing that's going north-south, that is the other thick red line. And then the dashed line that you see is future High Plains Parkway that has been planned in the community for 25 plus years that will ultimately curve and align with Buckley in the future. The orange streets that you see here are collector roads that do exist. Again, as part of Stead School and that initial plat, 105th Avenue, Homestead Trail, all of those were done, and those roads are in and complete. And then the yellow roads you see there are the local streets that we are proposing as part of this community. There are signals right now. Oh, sorry, Nick, you're good. There are signals right now that exist on 104th. Most recent one, as many may know, is Walden. That was put in really as part of the, when Stead School came in, that one was put in about the same time. And then there's a future signal proposed at Homestead Trail, and at the time when it'll be future High Plains Parkway. And then what we have is, you can see that's called out as a 3/4 movement on 105th. Do our traffic studies show that really that 3/4 movement means you can turn right out of the site, you can turn right into it off a tower. If you're going north on Tower Road, you can turn left on 105th. The only thing you cannot do is turn from 105th and go north on Tower Road because it is not a safe movement in that location. Next one. Residential parking. So parking is something that we definitely also hear a lot about when it comes to these residential plans. And what this starts to show is that with an alley-loaded product, the way we have this here, there's a lot of on-street parking capability, which are these kind of orange cars that you see along the perimeter. Those are all cars that can park on the streets. The blue ones that you see inside the homes, each one of these does have a 2-car garage. You have other kind of like purple-looking ones. Those are the head-in spaces that we have provided in select locations. And then there's some other ones you could see that are kind of behind the blue cars. Those are full-length 20-foot driveways that we have proposed. So when looking at the parking, we worked for months with staff, and we went back and forth, and we kind of started to put ourselves in every single home and started to figure out, okay, where would guests park and how would you get here? And so if you look at this plan, everything really on the left-hand side or on the west side of the project, you can see there's not those full-length driveways because you see a lot of on-street parking that's available. Where you start to see the full-length driveways and those driveway availabilities are closer to Tower Road because those areas don't have the streets and as much availability to park over there. So we thought these would be great homes to where your guests could park in the back of them and they can walk around the front. Again, and then as you got to areas where there's more than enough parking on the street, taking out that extra paving, and because we really already have that paving available on the streets. With this, I wanted to point out that we're required to do 2 parking spaces per unit. What we're showing on here is double that. It's at 4 parking spaces per unit. Okay. Metro District map. Just wanted to pull this up because I know there's always a lot of discussions about metro districts here. Just wanted to point out that this is a different district. It is a Reunion Center district. It is not part of the North Range metro districts that we typically hear about out in Reunion. So just wanted to make sure that was clear that this isn't a different district from existing Reunion homes. The subdivision approval criteria, I don't know if I need to read through each one of them. Michelle would probably say yes, but I think we feel strongly that we do meet all of the subdivision approval criteria and are very willing to talk through each one of them through you. I know staff has also reviewed it, has it in their packet, and also believes that we meet all of the criteria. And so with that, we believe that we request your approval tonight, given that we feel like we meet the criteria. We're very excited. We think this is a great mixed-use project to be adding into the Reunion community. And then I guess after your presentation, we'll be available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
Yep.
All right. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. I'll spare you trying to read through those case numbers again, but before you tonight is the Reunion Center Filing 1, Amendments 1 and 2. So briefly, what is a final plat? So it's a legal instrument to create boundaries for lots and tracts for development. Why is it in front of you this evening? You don't typically see these final plats. Well, the reason is that the Land Development Code allows final plats to be approved administratively unless a request is made by City Council to go through the public hearing process. So again, the applicant mentioned this, but a final plat does not impact zoning or change the allowable uses within the zone district. In this case, it is zone Reunion PUD. And then included into your packet was the development plan, or what we would call a PUD permit, which contains all the details for how the site will look and function. So what is Planning Commission's role in this process? Well, it is to make a recommendation to City Council based on the approval criteria that the final plat will meet all of the approval criteria. Aerial of the site. So you'll see the red square there is the project area. We're at the northwest corner of 104th and Tower. So Tower running here, or excuse me, 104th running here and Tower running here. Currently, you'll see to the north is the Stead School, as mentioned by the applicant. To the west is Reunion Filing 30. To the east is vacant land, and to the south is the Reunion Village Plaza. Zoning map here, so it's located in the Reunion PUD as mentioned and is surrounded by the Reunion PUD, so somewhat surrounded and located within Reunion PUD. So as mentioned, 198 residential lots, 27 tracts for different reasons, including open space, utilities, and private roadways. The PUD permits were included in your packet are related to case numbers D 52925, which is for Amendment 1, and D 53025, which is Amendment 2. The applicant kind of broke these out for you already. Here's kind of a color map to show you what each will be used for. So the white lots obviously are the residential lots. The red you see is newly dedicated public right-of-way. The yellow is the detention areas. The green is the open space areas. And then the orange is the commercial lots. And then finally, or not finally, we have two more. The blue that you see, or purple, is the future development, which is divided by Amendment 2. And then the gray is the private roadways or alleys that will be used to access the homes. Again, similar color scheme here. Obviously, we're losing the detention is in Amendment 1, so you'll lose the yellow, but same idea. Orange is the commercial, red's new public right-of-way, gray is the private, green is the open space. So what is the zoning? So it's located within the Reunion PUD. It's noted as Parcel 1F, and then you'll see it's approximately 38.0 acres and in the zone document. And then it's noted as TC2, which tells us the development standards to use, the uses that are allowed, all of that later in the zone document. So here's the land use table. It kind of doesn't present very well because it's a big list, but point being is that the green column highlighted there is allowable uses within TC2. So you can see there are a lot of commercial and civic uses allowed there in that same column. Down at the bottom, there's a larger category, and I'll hover my mouse over it here, household living. So you can see residential uses are allowed in TC2. Here's the development standards that I kind of mentioned. So typically what we're looking for at the plat level, we'd be looking at minimum lot size and lot frontage as two major components for plats. In this case, TC2 single-family attached products do not have minimum lot sizes and frontages requirements because of the attached nature of them. So depending on where the lot line falls, it does funny things to the plat on widths and lot sizes. So at the time when this PUD zone document was approved in 2019, it was determined that a minimum was not needed. But there are other requirements that are still applicable. So as mentioned, that the minimum parking space requirement is 2 spaces. Although that's not reviewed with the plat, it is something that's still contemplated in the zone document. And then you have your other development standards for the placement of the homes on these lots, your setbacks and things like that. And then highlighted on this bottom image is more development standards. So you'll see parcel 1F in TC2 is allowed between 5 and 40 dwelling units per acre. And then it gives some more statistical data as far as minimum FAR. So there is not a limitation on the minimum for the lot sizes, but there is a minimum size for the buildings to be located on those lots. So that's how we're kind of controlling for a baseline, if you will. As mentioned, so I went through what's around them, but we also wanted to mention, so 27J School District provided a letter which indicated that their land dedication has been satisfied through dedications throughout the reunion projects. Most recently, Rocky Vista High School, located at 96th Avenue and Landmark. They also indicated in that comment letter that they have sufficient capacity in all of their schools for the anticipated number of students generated by this development. As far as Parks and Recreation impacts, so there is no cash in lieu fee, impact fee applied to this project since they've dedicated sufficient public land throughout the entirety of their development, including land given to the golf course, the Reunion Center Park, which the applicant highlighted, and other pocket parks. Specifically with this development, they're proposing a 6,600 square foot park located specifically in Amendment 2 on 105th and Walden. The traffic study, wanted to highlight for you that the traffic study contemplated both the residential and commercial development. So when you're seeing higher traffic volumes than what exists today, generally commercial development generates more traffic or more trips than residential development. It's not always the case, but in this instance, that was the assumption. There are no intersections that are expected to fail because of this development. The traffic study identified 2 existing turning movements that were failing on Tower Road and Walden Street. The city has gone in and now since modified the timing of those lights since the traffic study was done to fix those failing intersections. Here we go. The development agreement. So traffic impacts can be mitigated with improvements on Tower Road, East 104th Avenue, and Walden Street. Their development also talks about improvements to public rights-of-way, storm sewer systems, sidewalks, landscaping, and identifies private streets, those alleys, which the developer agrees to construct and maintain. Here is a little chart for you about the major improvements that are detailed in the development agreement, although this is not inclusive of all the improvements. You can see that they're Walden Street and Homestead Trail right adjacent to the Stead School. The applicant will be installing an all-way stop. Tower Road and 105th Avenue, they'll be adding turn lanes. And then because Yampa doesn't exist today, it's just a street stub. They'll be reconfiguring that existing street stub to allow for that development of that public rights-of-way. And then same thing applies at the Walden and East 104th Way intersection. They'll be reconfiguring an existing street stub. And then off of East 105th Place, they'll be adding a turn lane. As far as public comment goes, so final plats during the administrative approval process are required to be noticed. Once they were noticed for administrative approval, we received 11 comment letters. Those were included into your packet this evening, but since we've renoticed for the public hearing, that we've received no additional comments. Some considerations for your discussion. Again, a final plat does not dictate allowable uses. Parcel 1F would allow for residential development that is much denser than what they're proposing. And then a development agreement has been finalized, which details all of their required improvements. The approval criteria here, this was included into your staff report, so I'll just run through this briefly. So criterion A, is it consistent with the PUD zone document? It can be found that this plat is consistent. Like I said, there is no minimum lot sizes or lot widths, but is otherwise consistent with the standards for TC2. Is the subdivision, criteria B, is the subdivision consistent with the specific zoning district? That's kind of similar to the criterion A, except that we wanted to highlight for you that the Reunion Village Plaza on the south side of 104th was also zoned in the Reunion PUD as mixed use. And the commercial component for Union Village Plaza is both similar in width and depth. So you can say that the way that mixed use has been developed historically in this zone document, it is matching that pattern of development. And then criterion C, here there's no evidence that the subdivision violates any laws. There are several review agencies listed out there for you, which reviewed for conformance with laws and regulations, both the state, federal, and local. Specifically, wanted to highlight City's Attorney's Office took a look at this project as well to assure that it meets all of those requirements. Criterion D, so the general layout meets all of our requirements of the Land Development Code, including some of those things listed there. So these two final plats combined create 190 residential lots and 10 commercial lots, all of which conform to the standards contained in the Land Development Code. Additionally, they are providing approximately 30% open space, which exceeds the baseline requirement of 3% of the Land Development Code. Criterion E, subdivision compliance with all the applicable city standards. The Land Development Code sections are listed out there for you. Sections 216220, 216210, and 216240 are the most applicable, but there are other documents which this was reviewed against, including the engineer's standards and specifications, the International Fire Code, other documents like that, to make sure that it meets all standards that would apply to this type of development in Commerce City. Criterion F is an or statement, so it can be either criterion I or criterion II. In this instance, staff felt that it is most conforming with criterion FII, which indicates that the effect of the development can be mitigated. Because of the improvements detailed in the in the development agreement, they're able to mitigate the impacts of their development through those improvements that they'll be making. Therefore, no substantial or undue adverse impacts are expected for adjacent properties. Criterion G, adequate, sufficient public safety, transportation, and utilities. So this is somewhat of an infill development. It'll be connecting to existing utilities and will use United Power, Xcel Energy, and 27J School District, South Adams County Fire District as their main districts or utility providers that they'll be connecting to. Criterion H speaks to that development agreement, which needs to be executed and addresses all the improvements that they'll be making. At this time, the development agreement has been finalized and staff has not received an executed copy, but is working through its execution to meet criterion H. And then criterion I, it talks about phasing. In this instance, no phasing is proposed, and so therefore that criterion is not applicable. Staff is available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. So I do have a couple questions just related to, and I'd like to thank the applicant for their presentation as well. So my first question would be, which version of the comprehensive plan was this evaluated against?
So the zone document was approved in 2019. Our 2045 comprehensive plan was adopted in 2024. So therefore, it would have been reviewed at the comp plan that was in place at the time, which was adopted in 2010. So the 2010 comprehensive plan would have been what was used to determine if it had conformance for that zoning decision in 2019.
And was that information included in the packet for the commissioners to evaluate this? Just in, because my question and where I was going with that was just related to its criteria F in the comprehensive plan. And so I just, since we're working against a different comprehensive plan, I think it's difficult, it would be difficult for us just to, as that's what's in our purview, is being mindful of the comprehensive plan to evaluate against that.
Sure. Yeah, so the 2010 plan called for this area to be a regional commercial center, which allows for mixed-use development, both horizontal and vertical. So therefore, I think that's where they made that zoning decision to allow a mixed-use type development for this corner. To your question, was it included in your packet? It was not. Since it felt as though it was maybe not applicable to a final plat decision, but next time it could be included.
So then for the future, amendments it would be I guess it's in Amendment 2, I guess it's in both amendments. How would that be evaluated? Would that be evaluated against the current comprehensive plan when those amendments are submitted?
So the final plats, when they're submitted, will be for amendments 3, 4, and beyond. They would be reviewed against the PUD zone document, which is in effect, or the zoning that's in effect. And so given that zoning decision was made in 2019 with the 2010 plan, they would de facto be reviewed against the 2010 comprehensive plan.
I'm thinking if I have other questions related to this. What if we feel that there's an issue where there's a incongruency between what may be approved then and what's in the current comprehensive plan? How does that work?
That's somewhat natural as cities adopt new comprehensive plans, right? And plans and policies change over time. And so staff would evaluate that against whatever the existing zoning is. So since this is a platting decision and not a zoning decision, we would just defer to the zoning that's in place, which would have been evaluated at against the comprehensive plan in effect at the time it was completed. Is there anything else that y'all wanted to add to that?
Thanks, Nick. I think that was a good answer. I think if you wanted to, your line of reasoning or your questions are appropriate to ask how this criteria is met of both staff and the applicant, and then you can make your decision based on that.
Could you say that one more time, just so I'm clear?
Yes. So appropriate line of questioning is to ask staff how criteria F is met. And you can also ask that of the applicant. And then when you deliberate, you can make your decision on whether this plat application meets criteria F or not. Does that
Yes,
make
so
sense?
I would ask that question first of staff in terms of F, just to be fair to the applicant in the process of when they submitted and were quote unquote grandfathered into the process, but then being respectful of the city's comprehensive plan and moving forward.
Yeah, so criterion F, as mentioned, is an or statement, so it can meet either one. Your line of questioning is based on criterion I, the first one, which talks about the provisions and policies of a comprehensive plan. They're kind of towards the end of the criterion. The staff felt as though criterion II, it was the most applicable, although I did, in drafting this, I borrowed some of the language that is talked about in criterion I, the first one, which talks about that there will be no substantial or undue adverse effect on the adjacent properties and that they can mitigate their impacts that they will have. Some of those impacts that the criterion is speaking to are traffic conditions, parking, public improvements, things of that nature. So if it's meeting 90%, I would say, of criterion I, and then would fully be able to meet II.
Thank you. And I'd have the same question for the applicant as well.
All right, I guess same question with regards to comp plan.
Yes.
I would totally agree with Nick in what he's stating on here. Again, when it comes to a zoning decision on it, which is when the PUD was done, that is when the comp plan was studied and compared to the comp plan, the PUD zone document. And so everything within that PUD zone document, which shows, again, the criteria that start to set up for the comp plan, the land uses that were in there, the circulation, for example, that's in the comp plan, some of these items were all put into that PUD. And then we are now following that PUD document that was set up based off of the comp plan.
Understood.
Yep.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the other commissioners? Commissioner Sanchez.
Just a couple of things. There were comments from the public or letters or emails sent, and I was just curious. The first one was addressed by Matthew Long, and he sent an attachment with his letter, but that was not provided with the letters that were sent to us. I didn't see the attachment, and I think it would be interesting for commissioners to see what some of the marketing things look like when people were drawn to this area and chose to pick Reunion to live. So I'm curious about why that wasn't provided, because if you read the letter, it talks about baseball fields, ice house, movie theater, tons of different things that could draw people to the area. So I didn't know how that compared with these tracks, and that's the point I'm making here.
Yeah, as far as how those documents were or those letters were combined together, the size of the file must have been too big when they were commingled. What I can speak to is what the contents were. So the marketing materials showed, and I got, let me actually pull up the aerial. So it showed the Stead School as it exists. It showed multifamily apartments on this parcel. It showed commercial development on this parcel, and then the ice house, ball fields development that was talked about in those marketing materials was for this parcel kind of on the upper right of the image here, as far as what was in the images in the marketing materials.
Okay, thanks. Metro districts were mentioned. How does this new metro district, or at least it's new to me, work with the Reunion Metro District overall? Does it fall under their auspices, or what are we talking about there?
What I can say from a staff perspective is that the applicant was required to provide a service plan as a part of their development agreement, which shows how this development area will be serviced. Now, I'll let the applicant speak to how it interacts with the
And I'm
other
curious about residents that would move into this area, how it comes into play with the rec center and those types of amenities.
Yeah, so this is in a separate metro district.
Right.
There is the potential that the districts here could enter into an IGA with Reunion Metro District for code covenants and operations and maintenance and those kinds of things. But the fees that these homeowners would be charged would be directly related to the services that would be provided for them. Does that answer the question?
Okay, so they haven't entered into agreement with RMD at this point?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the other commissioners? Seeing none. Let's see. Do any members of the public wish to provide comments on these cases? Seeing none. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight who wishes to speak?
There is no one that signed up beforehand, Chair.
Thank you. And does the applicant wish to make any additional comments to the commission? Thank you. At this time, I will now close the public hearing for these cases. Is there any discussion from the commission? So my only concern why I was bringing that point up relative to the comp plan, but knowing that that's not necessarily how we're reviewing this, was it seemed like, and it was just specific to Amendment 1 with, let me pull it, it was the references in the comp plan. It was to the E40 Expressway Corridor District. And it does say that in that single-family, multifamily, it's the same residential uses are allowed in that, but they should be subsequent to the more commercial uses. And it's just noted as in the swath on the east end where the houses are shown in this. So that's where my line of questioning was coming from. But knowing that we're not evaluating with this, that I feel confident that staff has reviewed versus the previous comprehensive plan that it meets. But that's just so you understand where my line of questioning was coming from. Any other discussion, comments? Commissioner Van Huzen.
After reading most of the public written comments, most of them strongly want more commercial, so I didn't see any specific objections to the residential development other than we want more commercial. We would prefer that. And I was pretty detailed about reading each one, and almost every one of them, they just really want more commercial. And I think that's why they oppose more people until they have their fair share, what they feel, of services. So I'd love to see the commercial go first, but I don't think that's probably what we're going to see.
Any other comments? And I would also like to add just to that point, just about just the mix of residential, because that's always a big point of contention, and it's always about added rooftops, and rooftops drive other development, and you need more rooftops, you need more people, and especially the North Range, how that's a landlocked area where it's divorced from Green Valley Ranch by the Arsenal, and we're far away from Brighton, that it's kind of this isolated area. So it's the cart and the horse argument. So, all right. So let's see. Can I please have a motion? So do we need to do these individually? Okay. Can I please have a motion for Reunion Center Filing 1, Amendment 1? Commissioner Schechter?
I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested Reunion Center Filing 1 Amendment 1 final plat contained in case S762-20-21-25 meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend approval of the final plat to City Council.
I second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Schechter and a second by Commissioner Van Huzen. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, please open electronic voting. The motion passes 5 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstains. Can I please have a motion for Reunion Center Filing 1 Amendment 2? Commissioner Schechter?
Sure. I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested Reunion Center Filing 1 Amendment 2 final plat contained in case S762-20-21-25-25 meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend approval of the final plat to City Council.
Second as well.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Schechter and a second by Commissioner Van Huzen. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, please open electronic voting. The motion passes, 5 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstain. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Meeks and the applicant team on the success of your cases this evening. So the next item is the Transportation Master Plan. I will invite Commerce City Public Works and their consultant forward to present the draft Transportation Master Plan. At the conclusion of the presentation, there will be an opportunity for questions from the commission. If any members of the public wish to comment on the draft plan, they will be able to do so following the questions from the commission. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving to those attending virtually. With that, I will have Public Works Director Jenna Hahn give an overview of the Transportation Master Plan.
Good evening, and thank you, Commissioners. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Jenna Hahn. I'm Director of Public Works. I am joined tonight by one of our consultants from FHU Engineering, Ms. Stephanie Ball, who will actually go through the presentation with everyone. But just some quick background information for you all. The city has been working on this plan since early 2024. We are very close to finalizing that plan with a currently scheduled date for adoption with our City Council on December 1st. So between now and then, we are actively in our 4th and final phase of public engagement. And for anyone listening, as well as you commissioners, that engagement opportunity is virtual. If you want to go online and provide any comments in addition to the discussion tonight, that is available through the 17th. We will then be working towards coming back to you all again later for a formal recommendation before going to council. But Stephanie will walk us through the Transportation Master Plan, including the community outreach and work we've done to date to get us to this point, and then we'll be happy to answer any specific questions that you have at the end of that presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is this working, this mic? Yeah. Okay, thanks. All right, thank you, everyone. My name is Stephanie Ball, as Jenna mentioned. I'm a transportation planner with Felsberg, Holt, and Gylvig. Is it still not?
Could you move your microphone a little bit closer? Just a little hard to hear you up here.
How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, great, thank you. As I was saying, my name is Stephanie Ball. I'm a transportation planner with Felsberg, Holt, and Gylvig, the consultant supporting the Public Works Department on this plan. So we have just a brief presentation of the work that we've completed so far on the transportation plan over the last year and a half. And I certainly have some supplemental slides if there are some more detailed questions after, but we'll keep it brief on some of the high-level topics that went into the effort of this plan. All right. Okay, so the purpose of a transportation plan, and I should mention that this is an update to the 2010 transportation plan. And so the purpose of this plan is to really set the vision for mobility and transportation investments throughout the city. And there are some goals that are along with this that are developed, and really that is to develop a set of projects, programs, strategies that all reflect the vision of the community and the city of itself. And so this plan is intended to set a vision for the funding and how that will happen over the next 25 years. So the vision statement that was developed as part of this plan is on the right side of your screen, and that was developed along with a set of goals, and that was developed from previous plans, things like the strategic plan, the comprehensive plan, and then engaging with the community and gathering feedback on the most important topics to them. So really the vision statement combines all of these goals into 2 sentences about the future of Commerce City. And these are the goals that were established as part of that process. There are 5 goals: a connected multimodal network, accessibility and equity, safety, sustainable growth and innovation, and asset maintenance. And really the purpose of these goals is to guide the transportation plan throughout the process. We went through a very technical assessment of the current and future conditions, a geospatial based analysis to understand future traffic volumes given growth in the city, to understand bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, transit service, and more. So our community engagement process consists of 3 phases. The first phase was conducted in August through October of last year. And this is typically the most in-depth phase of engagement. This is really important to our planning process. This is where we get a lot of information from the community. We're listening to the community and wanting to understand what types of improvements are most important and what problems are you encountering when traveling in Commerce City. And really we're gathering that location-based feedback, and that's really important to informing and understanding issues in the transportation system that may not come up during our technical analysis. And so through that first phase of engagement, we had a lot of participation. We did both digital and in-person engagement, and we got a lot of great information with that. The second phase of engagement is all about priorities and trade-offs. So now we understand what types of improvements are most important, and what we really wanted to understand from this phase is which of those transportation investments are most critical. This helps us prioritize the improvements and the projects that are recommended in this plan, and it also helps us understand which strategies are most important in terms of from a policy standpoint. That phase of engagement was conducted this past spring. We had a little bit lighter of a participation in terms of number of participants, but we did get a lot of comments in this one as well. This was a pretty in-depth survey that asked some detailed questions about street design preferences that all helped inform the plan. And then finally, the third phase of engagement is happening right now, as Jenna mentioned, and this is going September through October, and will be open through October 17th. And really the purpose of this phase of engagement is to present the draft plan and solicit it for public comment and really ask the question, did we get it right? Does this plan reflect the vision that you have for your city? And so we'll be taking that feedback and considering if we need to make any modifications to the plan based on that feedback. All right, and so there's a chapter in the transportation plan called the Recommended Transportation Plan, and this consists of several different what we call modal plans. And really the purpose of breaking these up into separate modal plans is they have very specific needs and strategies that go along with those, and then they all work together to create a connected network. And so that's how the plan is organized. We have a roadway plan, a transit plan, a bicycle plan, a pedestrian plan, and then we also have included a safety plan that incorporates the recommendations from the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, which was recently adopted, I believe, a month or so ago. So it makes sure to incorporate that. Both of those plans were occurring at some of the same time periods, and we're able to benefit from each other's analysis and engagement. And so we thought it was really important to make sure that was included in this plan as well. To touch on a few highlights of the roadway plan, we provide a future roadway network. And these are recommendations for projects that include roadway widening, so widening from 2 lanes to 4 lanes and so forth. And then we also outline new roadways. Many of these are roadways that were presented in the 2010 plan and have been carried forward in this plan or updated based on new information. There are recommendations for interchanges and grade-separated crossings. There are intersection and safety operational improvements as part of the roadway plan. And then there are other topics and strategies included in terms of exploration, next steps that staff can take with the plan. So looking at things like Buckley Road connection, a traffic signal and fiber network master plan to take a deeper dive into those topics, and potentially some coordinated freight strategies along with that. The transit plan is a bit unique because, as you all know, Commerce City does not provide its own transit service. So really the transit plan is focused on what the city can do to support better transit within the city. And with that, you have control over your public right-of-way. And so there's some improvements that can be made for existing routes and the potential future routes as well. And so we established what we call transit priority corridors. And there are different types of improvements depending on this transit service and the corridor that may be applicable in this situation. So things like transit signal priority at the traffic signals that allow buses to go ahead of traffic and improve that speed and reliability. Things like queue jumps. And so that allows buses to kind of go around any congestion that may be happening at an intersection. And then you also have a potential opportunity for transit only or business access lanes. So where a bus has a dedicated lane on those congested roadways to really improve the service and reliability. We also looked at different transit amenity improvements as well. So we looked at the highest ridership stops today and made some improvement or recommendations on improvements in terms of shelters and amenities that are at those stops to make them more comfortable. We heard a lot about that from the community. And then we also touch on the topic of microtransit and some opportunities around doing some additional studies around microtransit. For the bicycle plan, really we worked to advance the walk, bike, fit recommendations. That plan was done quite some time ago, and so there are some bicycle facilities that have been implemented, and then there are some updates and different types of roadway connections. And so this plan is really focused on advancing those. And so with that, we conducted an analysis to understand the bicycle level of traffic stress. So, and that helped to inform the type of facility that would be appropriate for that roadway. And with that, these are preliminary facilities recommended, and each of these are going to have to be assessed with more detailed data, but they are based on the speed of traffic as well as the volumes of traffic, which have an impact on the comfort of people bicycling. We also identified a number of locations where we are recommending multimodal crossing improvements. So this actually goes for both the bicycle network and the pedestrian network, which I'll share next. And in addition to that, we've also identified those locations of where multi-use paths are either planned or existing, just to create that continuity in the network for both modes. For the pedestrian plan, as I just mentioned, those multi-use path recommendations were carried forward into this plan as well. Also, those multimodal crossing improvements. And then in addition to that, there was a sidewalk gap assessment done in the city a few years ago. And so we were able to take that data and we conducted a pedestrian demand analysis to help prioritize which sidewalk gaps should be completed first. And with that, we created a tiered sidewalk gap system. And so I know the map is not super easy to tell there, but those tier 1 are where there is a lot of pedestrian demand, and those tier 4 categories in purple are where there is less pedestrian demand. All right, and so the project evaluation framework. So we developed all of the projects needed to satisfy a connected, safe, multimodal transportation system. And we went through a process and are in progress on this, because part of this is public input, to assess how well each of those projects meets the goals of Commerce City and their vision for the transportation network. And so that's what the evaluation framework is used for. It can also be continued to use as new projects come through, as you're considering new projects to be fed into your capital improvement program. This can be a framework to serve that. So there's a couple of questions that go along with each of those goal areas. And then there's also things to consider, like the maintenance of those assets, public input, and then implementation readiness. So taking into consideration if this project is in a design-ready state, if it's already been supported by existing planning efforts, as well as funding opportunities, whether that be grant funding or a partnership with a regional partner like another jurisdiction. All right, so that concludes our brief overview presentation of the draft plan. I will open up for questions or comment, and I'll be taking notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from any of the commissioners? Questions, comments? Commissioner Schechter.
Yeah, well, through the chair to the city attorney, or just as far as what we're doing tonight, what action are we being asked to take tonight? Or is this just a presentation? Are we voting on anything, or?
No, what was set on the agenda tonight was just for presentation and discussion.
Okay, got it. And so our only discussion is right now, I guess? Okay.
Right.
Then in that case, I have another question for them. Okay, so, hi, thank you for the presentation. The draft plan, and I kind of wrote this out, you see me reading. The draft plan includes racial preference language that appears inconsistent with the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in City of Richmond v. Croson. That could jeopardize our ability, or eligibility, excuse me, for federal transportation grants, like the millions we received last year, as far as I understand. And at a prior meeting on a different issue, I was called racist after the meeting simply for questioning similar language, which to me illustrates how legal concerns can create a hostile environment when they aren't addressed upstream. So my question is really to the city attorney's office. If you could consider developing contract guidance requiring vendors to use neutral, objective, income-based criteria so we remain constitutionally compliant and foster a more respectful working environment.
I can certainly bring your concerns to the attention of the city attorney.
Okay, great, thanks.
Commissioner Van Huzen.
Thank you for all the hard work. And I've been approached a couple of times in order to have residents say with this. So I do appreciate all the outreach to the community. I do have a suggestion though, and that would be maybe adding Quebec to your transit priority routes. Since, of course, right here on Quebec, we have our largest venue behind us, being the stadium. So I think that it would be great if we used and considered Quebec also as one of those transit priorities. It also is so accessible to the A line just south of Commerce City. So if we could prioritize something like Quebec, that would help our north-south routes. I love the fact that we're looking at Highway 2 as a transit priority because we are severely lacking in a from south to north connection of our city. So thank you. But yeah, please consider that. Right now, the closest bus stop we have is at 56th in Quebec. And it only runs east-west mostly and then heads back that direction. But if we could somehow connect to the A line up Quebec, even then to Highway 2, I think that that would probably open a lot of opportunities to partner with RTD.
Yep,
Thanks.
we can take that.
Commissioner, can I just clarify for the record, when you say the venue behind us, are you referring to Dick's Sporting Goods Arena?
Yes, I am. Dick's Sporting Goods.
And if I may, I don't want to divert our attention away from the transportation master plan, but I do want to call attention to the fact that the city, right now, we're working with DRCOG. We have a grant for microtransit opportunities that focuses on the core city. So that's not to say we don't hear your comment and won't look at it for the plan, but I do want to let the commissioners know that we are actively working on a year-long study to help us figure out how we can help folks get around within the core city specifically. So very good point.
And thank you. Speaking of that, that's only a one-year project, correct?
It's a one-year study. And then after the study, we will have the data points from residents that will, and those residents will tell us where they're trying to go, when they're trying to go, and then we'll be able to take that information and launch a program.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I actually have a couple. And so my first was just, it was something, I don't know if I missed it because I was reviewing the whole transportation master plan. But it was, I guess, the first would be just related to short trip analysis via bike. And I didn't note any mention of structured bike parking related to activities, especially if you're trying to tie it to, like to Dick's Sporting Goods, or we're trying to get to specific nodes within the city. And I'm speaking to this as someone that used to commute. It was bike, bus, bike. And there were times where buses, they wouldn't have enough spaces to carry bikes. So you were just left to your own devices that you wouldn't be able to get on the bus. So I didn't know if there was any analysis related to structured bike parking, because it seems like the framework is getting built, but then if you're trying to get people to use bikes that they don't, if you had a really nice bike, I wouldn't necessarily want to put it on a U stand on the street.
Yeah, that's a valid feedback, definitely. I'll have to double check on if we provided this recommendation. We may have provided that recommendation at the inline station because typically you see some like bike lockers and things like that at transit stations. But I think you make a good point about doing some sort of look larger at places where people are going to be leaving their bikes. I'm not sure if that is in this transportation plan or will be in this transportation plan, but I think we can certainly allude to that being a priority and a strategy to study moving forward. Would you?
Yeah, I would say I don't know if we would call the locations out in the plan, but I appreciate the awareness. My department looks at transportation, and this is a form of multimodal transportation, so we'll think about the bike storage. It's a really good point. Thank you.
Next point. So on page 69, there's a table related to, it's like tree lawns, clearances. Does that reflect what's currently in the ongoing, the LDC? Is that the current information?
The roadway design standards, is that the?
And tree lawns and just to, I don't know if that's in cadence, because I don't know that off the top of my head, and I know that there's been conversations where those have been changing, just to make sure that's up to speed.
We follow, oh, did you want to speak to that? I was just going to say, we followed everything that is either in place or actively being worked on.
Perfect.
So if you would like to add to that, Mike, please feel free to do so.
No, perfect answer.
So the next comment would be on, it would be, I guess it would both be pedestrian and bicycle plan, is looking at the connectivity to Bar Lake. Because you're showing where it would be an interjudicial connection on 120th, but it would be an interjudicial connection via I guess, I don't know what the canal, the O'Brien Canal, how there's an existing path that's along the O'Brien Canal. And I know that some of that's noted as a future trail, but it would be nice as an amenity to connect that. Because if we're looking at it as a multimodal, to get people to connect to the state park that's like less than a half mile north of the city boundary.
I think that's another good project to have on our radar for grant funding with a regional partner or just a future capital investment project with the other jurisdiction. So again, valid point.
And then the last point I'd like to bring up, just as someone who's an ultra runner and uses the Arsenal Perimeter Trail, that there's very few facilities that there's been, and this is to the point of grant acquisition, but there's very few restroom facilities along that whole, are those sorts of facilities. There's one just here that's near, right across from City Hall. And then the other one is in the Dry Creek open space along Second Creek, but there aren't really any other facilities. So if people are making these long trips from the north to the south via bike, or they're walking, or like I've said, like I've run all the way around the Arsenal, that there's very few facilities. So that's outside of the purview of this, but I think that's something, especially we get in the mindset of we're traveling by car, the connection's a shorter duration, but if people are making long trips, when I make that trip regularly, I know that I'm not the only person in that boat.
Yeah, and I think that's a good discussion for us to have with our friends at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services about Arsenal.
Because once you get in the
amenities.
Arsenal, they have facilities as well.
Yeah.
It's just outside of the boundary of
Okay.
so it's on the Commerce City Trail.
Okay, got it. Well,
Yeah,
that is
either
helpful.
on the paved trail or the Crusher Fine Trail
Okay.
that there aren't any. Last year, there was a big push to put in a bunch of covered benches,
Mm-hmm.
which is a welcome add. But then it would also be and I know this opens other concerns about safety and unhoused people using these facilities, those sorts of things. But it's also, as a public amenity, that might be something to look at.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
And that was the last of my comments. Anything else? Seeing none. Are there, it doesn't appear anyone is in the venue this evening. Is there anyone attending virtually?
There is not, Chair.
All right. Well, yeah, so thank you again for the presentation and for giving us a chance to comment. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, and if you think of anything additional, please feel free to use the online public forum through October 17th.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Is there any commission business to discuss at this time? Commissioner Schechter.
Yes, if I may make a request through the chair or a question through the chair to staff. We were talking and wondering if, when emails sent to us, if it'd be possible to just CC us instead of BCCing us. This is a real little issue, but we've just had issues lately with like, oh, not everyone gets the email, or we want to reply, and yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
So Commissioner Schechter, I think that would go back to what City Attorney Zarzeki had responded to you on another group email, that we actually try not to have group emails with you as a group because of
Meetings
open
laws?
meetings. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get that. On the other hand, I'm like, well, we are adults. I don't know, like, can we, handle it correctly? I see that you're completely ruling out the possibility for us to do that if you BCC us.
Yes.
Just sort of, I don't know if anyone else has kind of noticed that. It's like, I'm not sure who got the email or who knows about what or who's.
Yeah, we cannot do group emails.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And that's for all boards and commissions. It's not,
Oh, this is sort of a citywide, we're not
open
singled
meetings.
out, like, we're not bad kids.
no,
It's an
no,
open
no.
meetings
Okay.
issue. It's not Commerce City, it's an open meetings issue.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Any other commission business? Seeing none. Is there any other attorney business to discuss this evening?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other staff business to discuss?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So last night was a big night at City Council. The new land development code was adopted on first reading by a 9-0 vote. And I wanted to applaud your efforts in creating that land development code. I know each of you have been invested in that process, and I really appreciate your involvement. It's a big step. I think that's the third land development code that's been adopted in Commerce City since its founding, and it's just a giant leap forward. So congratulations to you, and thank you for your efforts. We definitely applaud your efforts in that adoption process. Also, the vinyl siding was approved. The prohibition against vinyl siding was approved by a 9-0 vote in the 2009 code. So that will go into, assuming it's adopted on second reading, that'll go into effect immediately. And then the preliminary plat process was approved in the 2009 code, and that should be going into effect upon second adoption or publication thereafter. So those are three big steps. Let me see. I know Andrew has some additional items, but I wanted to just double check I wasn't missing anything. Nope, I think that was it. Andrew may have some additional items.
Yeah, just two things for you real quick, Commissioners. I sent these to you in an email, and I can follow up with you as well, but I just want to give some more context. There's two upcoming events that you guys have been invited to for the city. One is a town hall that is supposed to be hosted by the Youth Commission. It's for all boards and commissions, and essentially it's a recruiting tool for the city to be able to bring in more board and commission members. It's going to be on Saturday, October 18th. So not this Saturday, but the following. And it'll be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Here at the Civic Center. I got some more context from our boards and liaison staff member, and she let me know ideally they're looking for 2 people from each board and commission to attend this. Certainly all of you are welcome, but ideally at least 2 folks. One that would sit up, they're going to do a kind of an open discussion where each board is asked a question from the Youth Commission about why you joined a board or commission and try to engage public in that. And then additionally, there would be another person that's at a public table where they're handing out information beforehand. So I don't know if any of you all are itching or know right off the top of your head if you're available October 18th, but if you'd like me to write you down now, I can do so. Otherwise, I'll send a follow-up, and you all can just let me know if one of you all would like to attend. So we have that one. And then secondly, we would like to thank you all for all your hard work over the years with Planning Commission. We have a appreciation dinner that is going to be at Bison Ridge on November 19th from 5:30 to 7:30. There'll be raffles, prizes, games, and much more fun. I will send you all the RSVP link for that. I think you all have several weeks to RSVP that through early November, but wanted to encourage you all to attend that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then last question for staff. Mr. Sutherland, do you know if there are any cases scheduled for the November meeting?
I can speak to that. I do believe so. I don't know the specifics. I do want to note, and I'm glad you bring that up, our November meeting does fall on Election Day, so the next meeting will be on Wednesday. Heather did tell me, I don't have the specific cases in front of me, but we do have them things slated for
Yeah,
that.
thank you, just so we can get it on the calendars.
Yes.
Just for availability. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't. Sorry, don't know the number either.
All right. If there's nothing else, the time is 7:26 and the meeting is adjourned.
I can, I did pull up the agenda, so should we reopen the meeting to get this in, or?
This isn't the public agenda that's gone out yet, but if you're just wondering for your schedule, why don't you just say how many cases?
Yeah, we just,
so far?
or just that there's cases. We don't even need to know the cases, just that there's cases pending, so we're available. We don't need to know the
You have
particulars.
cases pending and it's moved to Wednesday.
Yes.
Perfect, that's all we need to know.
Yeah.
And there are 2 cases.
Thank you. And so, yes, once again, the time is now 7:27 and the meeting is adjourned.